Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen with details of the 3.2.1 live release, which is now available to all backers. It has a good amount of quality of life improvements and updates. We'll go over the patch notes and then talk about the patch and what they need to address in the near future. So they've adjusted the R97 shotgun price to be more consistent with other weapons. They've reduced the accuracy of AI turrets for the Cutlass, Starfarer, and Constellation. They've scaled insurance expedite costs to be proportionate with ship values and changed refuel repair costs to be proportionate of the ship claim expedite cost. They've removed EMPs from Grimhex Dumpers Depot as they were not able to be fitted on ships. They've reduced the mission spawn timers to increase the frequency and availability of missions. That was actually a big thing they needed to get changed. They tweaked stamina consumption and regeneration. They disabled radars in Star Marine until signatures and occlusion issues can be addressed. They've adjusted the heat values on the Blade's weapons, so the size 3 plasma cannon overheats slower and the size 2 is capable of overheating. Enabled the UI prompts when an item is underpowered and removed the MFD power throttle smoothing. They've updated to a new algorithm for ESP, and we will talk about that in a bit more detail because it does need some more work. They've reduced light levels on the bridge of the 600i. They've updated the UI sounds for the mining system. They've updated the Cutlass seating position to avoid strut obstruction. Overclock states are now calculated based on power variables accurately now, rather than just take a fuzzy sort of like overclocking sort of working or not using all your power properly. They've reduced the firing arc of the Gladius nose gun to be in line with the other ships and prevent AI from always firing sideways at players. They've updated the Reclaimer manned turret dashboard UI to the new rendered texture tech. Ship cannons or cannon type weapons are now semi-automatic fire, although that's not entirely true. Those semi-automatic weapons, they do have a cooldown, so it's not just press the button as rapid as you can to fire. With the semi-automatic cannons, they do have different cooldowns based on what cannon they are. Manned and remote turret controls have been updated to stabilize motion and ease aiming. In Star Marine, they removed watermelons from Echo 11 due to their destruction causing a client crash. That is my favourite patch note from Star Citizen ever so far. They fixed an issue where players could get trapped while hacking a control point in Star Marine. The extraction SCU throughput should no longer remain after a rock has been fully extracted in the Prospector. They fixed the lack of weaponry sway with aim down sightseeing and fixed holding breath to have a noticeable effect. They fixed the lack of friction on lift, preventing vehicle traction for the 600i. Their refueling should now properly charge and refund you if you interrupt services at Cry Astro. Characters should no longer vanish when they're trying on clothing and armor. Weapon fire audio should no longer continue after the gun overheats and shuts down. The Starfarer should have its catwalk railing back. The Starfarer should also no longer be stuck in auxiliary lighting after the ship is powered on. They've increased the mineable threshold to prevent rocks from being highlighted as fracturable when they are actually extractable. Explosive ammunition, so rockets and the combined ballistic cannon, should now do damage again. The Misk and Drake ships should no longer trigger quantum fuel low audio when thrusters are overheating. The Avengers pilot seat should now properly highlight when selected in interaction mode. Calibration progress audio should no longer persist for the slave ship after the master ship finishes calibrating. Overclocked components should now properly have overheat effects. Grenades should no longer travel toward map origin when thrown. Wearing specific kinds of helmets should no longer cause distant objects to appear blurry. The Nox should no longer have opaque glass. The player should no longer pass out too quickly from spamming crouch. Yes, you can no longer squat yourself to death. The mining arm on the Prospector should retract when attempting to quantum travel. Turning on the scanning UI while attempting to calibrate should no longer result in nav points getting stuck on screen and UIs stacking. The Mobiglass UI should no longer be offset when entering the pilot seat with a primary weapon drawn. Shield MFDs should now show the correct values for face redistribution. They fixed the placeholder text on the Condemnation Distortion Scattergun. Astro should now properly restock ammunition. Disabling the quantum drive during an interdiction should no longer cause the VFX to stick. The countermeasure UI should now show properly after returning from scanner mode. Sniper rifles should no longer replay muzzle flash VFX when coming out of aim down sights. Players should now be able to equip more than one of the same weapon onto ship turrets. After switching channels in visor or mobiGlass, chat messages and notifications should no longer be duplicated. AI should no longer spawn motionless into swarm modes of Arena Commander. The AR marker for party members should no longer be inaccurate if that member quantum travels away. The REC and UEC wallets should now properly update from account to game. Switching from Comlink to another app should no longer cause the chat logs to be lost. Switching between mobiGlass apps should no longer duplicate chat channels in the comlink as well. Gladius MFD should no longer have flickering replace me textures for AMD users. Reclaimer turrets entry should no longer break on repeated usage. The 600i should no longer run out of power while flying in atmosphere. The Urza rover should no longer run out of power while shooting. The Hurricane turret should now be able to fire while the shields are recharging. They fixed weapon groups on the 350R, so semi-auto weapons are not grouped with full auto weapons. The Freelancer should be able to fire its weapons while recharging its shields. They altered the weapon groups on the Buccaneer to avoid mixing semi-auto with auto weapons. They altered power on the Scythe and Glaive, so they can fire their size 5 weapons more readily. The Reclaimer should no longer quickly overheat when in combat scenarios. The Avenger should now be able to fire while its shields are charging. The Mustang series should no longer overheat quickly or get stuck in an overheat loop. The weapons of the Super Hornet should now be able to be fired without losing power. The heatsink component should no longer be visible on the Vehicle Manager app. The bridge of the Caterpillar should no longer be stuck in a low light state. Star Marine control terminals should once again work normally. Party member AR markers should no longer be reflected. They fixed an issue where the Starfarer rear turret gunners didn't have the ability to control the radar. All port slots should no longer be duplicated in the VMA as well, the Vehicle Manager app. They fixed 4 server crashes, 2 client crashes, an issue that caused shopping services to crash, an occasional disconnect issue. When disconnected from the game, the player entity should no longer get stuck inside the server. They fixed an issue that caused client performance to dip significantly when first loading into the PU as well. There are a couple of major known issues with the patch. The Mustang Alpha and Delta have a severe bug that causes players to drop through their service after landing. All owners have been given a temporary Aurora MR loaner while awaiting a resolution for that. Although, as well, there have been several updates to the effectiveness of turrets. Their function has still room for improvement, and they will continue to iterate on them moving forward. So they basically identified that turrets are still not in the best place they can be. So let's talk about some of the other bits. So the graphics options have also been fixed, which means very high again in the graphics options. You don't need a user.cfg to force those very high settings on anymore. I've updated my Star Citizen user.cfg and performance guides accordingly for 3.2.1. You can still turn anti-aliasing off, for example, and some other settings in the user.cfg if you are looking for some more frames per second. A big criticism of this patch for me is the aim assist on the manned turrets and ship ESP. They are trying various techniques to see what works best. However, having soft aim assist means your fire isn't going where you want it to necessarily, and it kind of levels the playing field in the wrong sort of way. I potentially wouldn't mind if there is sort of like a derpy soft aim assist available for new players, but that would have to be something that just isn't good as being skilled. Aim assist is not an appropriate answer to not having turrets and ESP in a good place. I want turrets to be responsive and stable, maybe even keeping position as the parent ship turns. ESP needs to be subtle for those of us that use it. It can't be overly sticky. It can't work against you. What it looks like they're doing at the moment is, it seems, is sort of like using aim assist to prop up turrets in ESP while it's getting dialed in properly for either 3.3 or 3.2.2. The skill of a pilot needs to be sovereign in Star Citizen. It's a core foundation of the game. Accessibility to be able to learn the skills, have tutorials, get a stable flight model. That's all sort of key. You want accessibility for players to get good at the game, and you want accessibility for players that are new to the game to be able to play it without being incredibly rage-induced stressed. Again, with the general IFCS and the flight model, I can see that they're still dialing that in, definitely with this patch, especially with the safety modes and decoupled. They're not right yet, they need some more work. It's really important for backers to test this patch out and give feedback, as well as reporting and prioritizing bugs. Your say affects how this game evolves and what features and fixes will come online sooner. ESP, turrets, IFCS for me, that's what needs to be addressed in the extreme short term. There are occasionally unresponsive doors and a glitch with the mobilglass where it opens and closes twice that happened that I would like fixed as well in the extreme short term. That's me, and I think, to be honest, that needs to be a priority, all of those. However, there are some great quality of life improvements with this patch. Missions are much more accessible and actually refresh more often. I've had great frame rates too, 40 plus for me. And the general gameplay of the game, excluding ESP, IFCS and turrets and stuff, is pretty good. It's a solid patch, but as I said, they need to get some stuff sorted in the extreme short term, hopefully for a 3.2.2 patch, in my opinion anyway. And they need to get those systems right, and get them right kind of now, really. This is the sort of time to do it. But tell me what you think in the comments below. Be sure to check out Shadow. It's a cloud-based alternative to getting or upgrading your gaming PC. It allows you to leverage the power of a GeForce 1080 at the moment and a powerful Windows 10 PC on almost any device, so long as your internet connection is good enough. It works with Star Citizen Alpha 3.2 and with 3.3 coming in September. With object container streaming, it's only going to get better. If you do try it out, be sure to use the code BoredGamer to get a discount. Links to more info in the description below. Every month we do have a ship giveaway as well. This time it's for a Drake salvage ship, the Vulture, with an upgrade to a Prospector as well if you so desire. Donated by Forgotten Heralds, a lawful private military org focused on in-game training and operations that they run regularly now in-game. They're going to be very heavily focused on contracts in the future as well. They are very active and friendly, being appropriate for veterans and new players alike. Check them out below for lots and lots of information, including a spotlight if you are interested. To be in for a chance of winning that Vulture though, make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube channel and comment on any of my videos during this month. Each video gives you another chance to win.